Hitchcock, Master of Suspense, Auteur Filmmaker by Joel Johnson. The master of suspense, Alfred Hitchcock, born in 1899 London, was raised in a strict Catholic household, an upbringing that would influence his worldview in filmmaking. A sense of fear and discipline filled his childhood, themes which would become central to many of his films. Hitchcock began his career in British cinema before moving to Hollywood in the 1930s, where he shaped the thriller genre into an art form. His iconic films, Vertigo, 1958, Psycho, 1960, and The Birds, 1963, became renowned for their psychological depth, innovative storytelling, and visual style. Vertigo is considered his magnum opus, exploring obsession and identity through complex narrative structures and striking visuals. Psycho revolutionized the genre, shifting towards psychological horror with shocking plot twists, particularly through Norman Bates' descent into psychosis. The Birds explored the inexplicable violence of nature, delving into paranoia and the fragility of human existence. While each film, in its distinct theme and execution, they share Hitchcock's obsession with control, fear, and audience manipulation. As an auteur filmmaker, Hitchcock's meticulous attention to detail and mastery of film form set him apart from contemporaries, influencing generations of filmmakers, especially in the genre of psychological thrillers. In 1939, Hitchcock made the pivotal move to America, where he began working in Hollywood, establishing himself as the master of suspense. He became a U.S. citizen in '55, embracing his new life in the States. Hitchcock's career spanned over 5 decades, cementing his legacy as one of the greatest directors of all time. The films I decided to focus on for the Auteur project for Hitchcock are Vertigo, Psycho, and The Birds. Vertigo is often regarded as Hitchcock's magnum opus, marking the culmination of his exploration of psychological complexity, obsession, and reality manipulation. It reflected Hitchcock's desire to cast Vera Miles in the role of an idealized woman, a modern take on the Frankenstein story, using his characters to seduce and destroy the archetype of the everyman. The film employs the groundbreaking visual techniques such as the dolly zoom to convey the protagonist's vertigo, symbolizing his mental disarray. What set Vertigo apart from Hitchcock's previous works was the casting of James Stewart, known for his everyman roles, and Kim Novak, whose portrayal of dual identities added an emotional depth and complexity. This is a shift in casting that is more traditional than the roles of Psycho and The Birds. While all 3 films share Hitchcock's signature themes, manipulation, fear, and obsession, Vertigo dives deeper into the psyche of its characters, presenting a labyrinth narrative about self-doubt, desire, and control. Psycho, 1960, is one of Hitchcock's most revolutionary films, radically altering the landscape of horror and thriller cinema. Based on Robert Bach's novel, it tells the story of Marion Crane, a woman who embezzles money and seeks refuge at the secluded Bates Motel, run by the seemingly mild-mannered Norman Bates, who harbors a dark secret. Hitchcock's auteur style shines in his handling of suspense and shocking reveals, particularly in the psychological tension between Marion and Norman. The film's production techniques, including innovative sound and camera angles, elevated it to a new level of cinematic artistry. The infamous shower scene, one of the most influential moments in film history, exemplifies Hitchcock's skill in editing, sound design, and visual suggestion. Hitchcock took control of every detail, from the speed of the cuts to the chilling stretch of the violins, turning the scene into a masterwork of artistic terror. Psycho revolutionized horror by killing off the apparent protagonist Marion early in the film. Hitchcock's casting choices, particularly Janet Leigh as Marion and Anthony Perkins as Norman Bates, defied expectations. With Perkins, a clean-cut actor, bringing terrifying complexity to Bates, Psycho influenced generations of filmmakers, and its innovative structure and exploration of voyeurism, identity, and fragility of the human psyche. Like Vertigo, Psycho explores the unraveling of psychological stability, although it takes a more overtly horrific approach. In contrast, The Birds, 1963, offers a more surreal and external exploration of fear, focusing on a town being attacked by violent birds for no apparent reason, reflecting on the fragility of human existence. Hitchcock's casting choice for The Birds, featuring Tippi Hedren, marked a departure from his usual leads with her cold, aloof demeanor, adding a sense of unpredictability to the character dynamics. Hitchcock's auteur style is evident in The Birds' use of suspense, minimal dialogue, and carefully constructed set pieces, while the film's unexplained terror mirrors the inner turmoil of its characters. Unlike Psycho and Vertigo, which focus more on psychological unraveling, The Birds takes an environmental approach, turning the natural world into a hostile force. The Birds is noted for Hitchcock's use of special effects, blending real birds with animatronics. The Birds stands as the ultimate film in this trio, pushing Hitchcock's exploration of fear into more experimental territory by leaving the threat unexplained, making it all the more unsettling. Hitchcock's use of the San Francisco Bay Area in Vertigo, The Birds, and Psycho shows his mastery in creating films where location and objects serve as extension of character and theme. Hitchcock's use of suspenseful techniques also exemplify his control as an auteur, allowing him to manipulate the audience's perception of reality. In Vertigo, the city's iconic landmarks like the Golden Gate Bridge add to the sense of obsession and disorientation. In Psycho, taxidermy, particularly the preserved birds in Norman Bates' parlor, reinforces the theme of control and the preservation of identity, foreshadowing Bates' unhealthy fixation on his mother and his warped sense of identity. While in The Birds, the unpredictable natural world becomes an extension of the emotional chaos of the characters. Hitchcock's ability to use location and symbolism to heighten psychological tension has influenced filmmakers big and small. In Vertigo, San Francisco becomes a character, with the city's iconic landmarks like the Golden Gate Bridge serving as a backdrop. The use of Coit Tower helped to create an atmosphere of disorientation and obsession that mirrors the protagonist's mental state. In The Birds, the Bay Area once again serves as a backdrop, but in this example, the natural environment of Bodega Bay turns hostile. The Birds attack the coastal city. They used a limited budget creatively, employing a black and white palette to heighten tension and utilizing sharp editing. In Psycho, Hitchcock uses surprise to create suspense, particularly through the shocking twists with Norman Bates' psychosis, while Vertigo focuses more on the protagonist's obsession and emotional manipulation. Both films also explore the theme of control, with Psycho showing how Norman's psychological descent leads him to control his mother's identity, and Vertigo portraying a man's desperate desire to recreate the past. In contrast, The Birds saw Hitchcock pushing the boundaries of special effects, using a combination of real birds and animatronics to create the terrifying, seemingly spontaneous bird attacks, all while maintaining his mastery of suspense through pacing and sound design. In all three films, Hitchcock relied on psychological complexity, meticulous control over narrative structure, and voyeurism and fascination with the human psyche. Alfred Hitchcock died in 1980, leaving behind a profound legacy that reshaped the landscape of cinema. His films, including Vertigo, Psycho, and The Birds, not only revolutionized the thriller and horror genres, but also laid the groundwork for modern suspense filmmaking. These films influenced countless filmmakers, from their use of psychological depth to innovative cinematic techniques and complex character exploration. Hitchcock's meticulous control over every aspect of filmmaking, narrative structure, visual style, sound, and casting solidified his reputation as a quintessential auteur. Hitchcock's legacy as master of suspense, psychological drama, and cinematic innovation remains unparalleled, and his contribution to auteur theory has ensured his place as one of the most influential filmmakers in history.